Hello, guys, gals, and my non-binary pals. It is Tyler, Michael, he, him, his here, and we are so excited to get ready for our next draft league. We are joining the RPDL, the Restricted Pokémon Draft League. I simply can't wait to get started. So what we're going to do in today's video is discuss the draft. So we've just drafted all 16 teams, and we're going to go through it. But first, let's slow things down and let's talk about the RPDL a little bit. So what is the RPDL, you might ask? Great question. The RPDL is a VGC draft league. It is split in two. So there's a majors division and a minors division. I am in the Pearl division, which is the minors division. This is for people who are new to VGC, haven't been playing that long, or are playing in their very first league. So this is the perfect place for me to be around a bunch of other players that are sort of in the same experience level as I am, to just try out a bunch of new things, play, learn, battle. I'm so excited. They're so excited. It's super great. There are 16 teams total. Each team gets 11 unique Pokemon. This is a point system, which I haven't done before. Each Pokemon was anywhere between 1 and 18 points, and you had like a total of 125. It was like more math than I have done in a very long time. But we did it. We're here. What makes this league a little special is that of the 11 Pokemon, you must have at least one restricted and one mythical. Most leagues don't let you have either one of those, so this is super cool. Restricted are mostly the like ones on the box, the cool looking ones, your Kyogres, your Groudons, your Zekroms, things like that. And your mythicals are your Mews, your Mewtwo's, things like that. Special ones not on the box. So you get one of each. What is cool though is that they can't Dynamax. And I think that's very interesting because it plays a fun mind game on which ones you're going to pick and which ones you're going to do. But let's get into this draft and why this video is here. First, I'm just going to say a couple of real quick things before we dive into this. One is for all the coaches, I'm going to use they pronouns. I don't know many/most of these people, so I don't really know their pronouns and don't want to assume anything. So we're just going to use they across the board. Nice and easy. Second is I am going to be sort of like judging these teams and ranking them. It's all in harmless fun. These are my opinions. I know literally almost nothing. So where I rank these teams doesn't really matter in the long run. It's really just for me to learn. I'm hoping to like rank these teams, see what I see as threats, see what I see as combos, and then as the league continues, sort of reassess what they're bringing, what they're using, what I saw in their team, and also what I was missing big time, right? I only know so many Pokemon, and so this was a fun challenge for me to like go through the teams and try and see what I assumed to be the threats. And I know there is a ton in there that I don't know and am missing, and so I'm excited to learn. And the final thing is the tier system. So there are 5 tiers. There is D, C, B, A, and S. S is like broken. It is like, this team is ridiculous. I'm afraid to face it. Everyone should be afraid to face it. There's a lot going on. A is like, this is a really good team. Solid, rounded, amazing. B is like, this team's pretty good. There's some holes in it for sure, but it's got it going on. C for me is like a team that's pretty average. It's got some like big holes that I think are exploitable, but still has some stuff going on for it. And D for me is ones that I just don't know what's going on with the team. I can't really figure it out. And I think I see clear strategies to face it, but that doesn't mean that that's always going to work. It's just for me, the teams that I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Sweet. So that's what we got. Here's a little bit of what I'm going to be going for and what I'm looking for. The first is strong cores. We hear this a lot. What the heck does this mean? There's sort of 2 cores we look for. There's the fire, water, grass. So you ideally want to fire, a water, and a grass type. It's great coverage against all the things you would face offensively, and it's great defensively to have one of those. The second is your fantasy core, which is your steel, dragon, and fairy. These are honestly, in my mind, mostly they're defensively. They're really great pieces defensively to have on your team. They're also great offensively, but those are often when you're drafting, you hear those phrases a lot. Your fire, water, grass core, your fantasy core, ooh, The second thing I'm really looking at with these teams is support. And this goes for a lot of things. It's screens, it's fake out, it's taunt, it's trick room. What support? It's not trick room, that's speed control. Ignore that. It's what support do you have for the other Pokemon on your team? What are pieces that are not necessarily offensive, but are there to round out and support the strong offensive pieces you have. The third thing is speed control. Games are won and lost by speed. Who gets to go first? So that is, can you speed up your team? Do you have Tailwind? Can you slow down your opponent's team? Do you have Icy Wind, Electro Web? Can you have Trick Room? Can you fight in Trick Room even if you can't set it yourself? Sort of speed control game. And the final thing is this really vague word, which is synergy. And what synergy means in my mind is, how does your team work with itself? What are the combos you've got? What are the things that opponents need to be scared about? Great. That's a lot of talking. We're just going to dive into it. This video is going to be too long. Sweet, but let's dive right into these teams and see what we've got. The first off is the Austin Toros. Amazing. Here's what this team's got going for it and what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to tell you right off the bat what I'm ranking it. For me, this is a B-ranked team. Why I say it's a B-ranked team is I think this team has a fantastic Sun mode, right? That Venusaur and that Torkoal, they are a deadly combination. But when I look at this team, and something that I realize is that it's got a stunning Trick Room mode. You've got that Doublade, you've got that Quagsire, you've got that Sudowoodo. Those are all the speeds there. So 30, 35, 35. Hatterene, that Trick Room mode is so good. Torkoal, etc. And Clefairy's there to help you set it, right? You can pretty reasonably get Trick Room up. The thing is, if you can't, or you get imprisoned or something like that, the fast mode on this team isn't the strongest. You've got sort of 4 fast mons. You have Keldeo, Talonflame, Venusaur, Gmax, and Necrozma. And Keldeo and Necrozma can't Dynamax. And Talonflame's not a big offensive threat. So really your fast mode is Venusaur. And so I think this team is exploitable in the way that you can Trick Room it. You can stop the Trick Room either by taunting or faking out or imprisoning it, and then plan to take out Venusaur, and that could be a problem. But if you can't do that thing, this team's just going to run through you. And Venusaur is deadly, and that Trick Room mode is wildly good. So this is a B team in my mind. Austin Toros, they got some threats for sure. Next up is the Birmingham Blazekins. So the Birmingham Blazekins, in my mind, what I have ranked them is C. They are a C rank team. Why, you might ask? Great question. For me, I think when I look at this team, I see a ton of great pieces. I see Blastoise, I see Cinderace Gmax, which can do serious damage. Mimikyu's always a threat. Darmanitan Galar does just big offensive forward damage. For me, what I'm missing, and I can't really figure out what's going to happen, is the synergy between all these Pokemon, right? I don't see how they all work and support each other. You have that Duosion there, which is nice for Trick Room. You have Clefable there, which is nice for redirect. But Blastoise and Cinderace aren't necessarily the best on the field together. If you set up the Sun with Cinderace, does that screw up Blastoise? Or do you set up this? You can't set up the Sun with Cinderace. Ignore that. But there's just a lot of pieces here that I think don't mesh together in a way that I'm confident they can do a lot of damage. And I think that Zygarde 10% is not the strongest use of a restricted mythical. It's just going to have to do a lot, and it can't Dynamax. So for me, yeah. There are some serious threats, though. Cinderace Gmax is wild and can, pick up the speed. And if you can get, a Shell Smash on that Blastoise, and Clefable can help you get that Blastoise can just, run through teams. So there's definitely threats on this team. I just don't see the immediate synergy. So for me, the Birmingham Blazekins are a C-rank team. But who knows what's going to happen. Next up is the Chicago Bearticks. The Chicago Bearticks are really interesting to me. I think something that I see right away is you have 2 stunning Trick Room Pokemon in Calyrex, Ice, and Azumarill, but you don't have a Trick Room setter on this team. I don't think Shiinotic sets Trick Room. If it does, then I'm wrong, and I'm easily wrong. But I just don't see why you would have 2 stunning Trick Room Pokemon and not a way to set it yourself. Ignoring that, there are some really great things here. You have Grimmsnarl, which is one of the best support mons. You have Togekiss, which can be Follow Me. It can also be Critical Kiss, Crit Kiss, and just wreck through teams. But I I think something that I'm also looking at this team and noticing is like your big offensive threats on the fast mode are your Togekiss, your Zapdos, and your Landorus, right? And they're all very weak to ice types. So you've got like an ice type weakness on your fast mode, and you don't necessarily have a way to set your trick room mode up. That's not to say that they don't have some tricks up their sleeve. Those are just things that I'm noticing that are a bit exploitable. And for me, that makes the Chicago Bear Ticks a C rank team. In my mind, let's keep going. Next up is the, and I meant to look up how to pronounce this, and I literally was like, Crimich, I don't know, thanks. The Colossals. This is a really interesting team. I'm going to get off right the bat, and again, and this is all in alphabetical order, so this is not in any way, shape, or form like by rank, but the Colossals for me are another C rank team. They're a C rank team for me. Why? So I look at this team and I say there's a lot there, right? You have Indeedee and Sceptile, which is great because you can set up that terrain. You can have one of the seeds, and Sceptile's Unburden can make it just go super fast. Whimsicott is like one of the most versatile draft team Pokemon. It can do so much. You have Tailwind, you have Trick Room, you have Charm, you have Helping Hand, you have Light Screen. Like, it can just do so much. You switcheroo things. There's so many things it can do, which is a bit terrifying in a way. But when I look at this team, I see some things that I don't know why they're there. I think Ditto is a great singles Pokemon, and VGC it's a little bit tricky because I believe it copies what it's across from. And so since you can't always pick which side it's on, that's a little bit tricky. So you might end up copying the thing you don't want to copy. That is not to say that it can't be absolutely stunning. It's just a little unreliable in a way that would make me feel comfortable. And you have Lickitung, but you don't have something with Swagger, and I think that might be really nice because I believe Lickitung gets the ability that makes it not be able to be confused. But you do have Indeedee, which has Follow Me. You have Diancie to set up Trick Room. You have Glastrier that can do a bunch of damage in Trick Room. There are a bunch of pieces here. I also know they have a bunch of extra points to use. I wonder if they're going to make some trades and use them. But for me, this is a C-rank team based solely on sort of like how these pieces work together and what the support you have for them is. Yeah, I think I'm just missing like that offensive threat. Because like Whimsicott and Porygon 2 and Pikachu and Indeedee and Ditto are not necessarily huge offensive threats, and then that narrows down what your opponent has to plan for. But also they might just go brr and destroy everyone. So who knows? Next up is the Detroit Decky-Deweys. This, for me, this team I think is broken. This is an absolutely broken team. This is S rank. I looked at this team and I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to face it with whatever I've got. Because here's what I see when I look at this team. One, I see Colossal, terrifying. I see both Dragapult and Inteleon. So you have two ways to set up its Steam Engine and Gober, right? Terrifying. You then have Mudsdale with Zarude. Zarude gets Swagger and can just crush things with Mudsdale. Mudsdale wrecks it in Trick Room. You have Thwackey and Hitmonlee. Thwackey sets the terrain. Hitmonlee with Grassy Seed, Unburden, just wrecks things. And then also you can like Unburden. Hitmonlee's fast. You max punch, max fighting, max whatever the fighting move is, then raises Thwackey's attack. So then it's like Grassy Glides are doing more. Like, that's broken. Mewtwo is such a great support and it's fast. You can burn things super fast. You can set screens like, or Beetle with gravity. There's so much going on here that is like terrifying for me to plan for. And this is a team where I'm like, all 11 Pokemon can come. Like every single week you can expect all 11 of these to be somehow involved in a plan. And that's terrifying. So for me, Decky-Deweys, I don't know how you drafted this team, but like S tier, I'm terrified of it. Don't face me, run away. Okay, bye. Next up is the Detroit Sableyes. I'm just like going through my little notes. I took notes. Ooh, I'm so fancy. The Detroit Sableyes. So this for me is a B rank team, right? This is definitely something that's really interesting. You have Togetic with redirect. So you have that follow me, which is nice. You have screens with Dottler, but like Dottler's slow, so I don't know how useful that is. Like, will it live long enough to set any of its screens? Who's to say? And I think this team is like a little bit bodied in Trick Room. Like, you look at these speeds, and your slow things are like Dottler, which isn't an offensive threat, Togetic, which isn't an offensive threat, Cursula, which is like a singles mon and really good there, and Zorora, which is more gimmicky than anything. So like, this team's gonna struggle in Trick Room. That said, like, you have a fast Tailwind with Aerodactyl, and you have Rotom Heat, you have Urshifu Single Strike, you have Metagross, you have things that are just gonna do damage fast, and Mew is like just impossible to plan for. You don't know what's going to show up each week. You don't know if it's going to set up. You don't know if it's going to support. It's so versatile. Zorora is here. I think it's a little gimmicky. It's nice that it can like sucker punch your Metagross and set off a weakness policy, and the Metagross can just like wreck things. So this is a B rank team, right? Like, I think its offensive forward fast mode is so good. I think it has some holes that could be exploited. And we'll see if they do. And we'll see how this team, they choose to defend against those things, but we will see. So yeah, Sable's Eyes, B. Maybe. Yep. I'm feeling good about that. Moving on, we have the Dutch Ravagers. The Dutch Ravagers is a really interesting team for me. I have been debating about where the Dutch Ravagers go for a while, and now I literally have to check because I'm about to say it and then not remember where I ended up putting them because I've switched like so many times on this team. Yes. So I think for me, the Dutch Ravagers are a D team. Why is a really good question. So Colossal Gmax is here, and you have Crawdont, which is Aqua Jet into Colossal Gmax, but that is like one of the biggest offensive threats of this team. You have Type Null, which isn't really that fast. Tyrantrum, who's in a weird middling speed and can get wrecked really easily by things. I think you have nice combo with like Mawile Drifloon. You can like sucker punch into Drifloon, which sets off its weakness policy, and its Unburden, which lets it just go extra fast and wreck things. It just doesn't have the best special attack in the game. I think, that said, like, this is my first impression of this team. There's definitely some threats here. I don't necessarily know why Bronzong's here. Like, it is an incredible Trick Room setter without the strongest, like, Trick Room Pokemon to fight alongside it. And it gets some great stuff. That said, I think something that's going to be really interesting, and I'm curious to see if this coach chooses to do this, is like, Ramappi can do some stuff. And it can speed swap real easily. And it can suddenly make that slow Crawdont be real fast and in your face, or really speed up that Tyrantrum. So I'm definitely not counting out this team in any way, shape, or form. I'm just looking at it and saying, these are the things that I'm seeing. Let's see if I have anything else in my notes. Nope, that's what I got. And I'm pretty certain this coach like has some points left. I could be making that up. I'm curious to see, but also like, can I rank a team with Colossal Gmax in D? Yeah, I'm going to do it. That's what it is for now. I don't know. Next up is the Greenland Tornadoes. The Greenland Tornadoes is a team that I look at and I definitely have some questions about. I think here's what I see right away. One, they took the smart route of like choosing Meltan because they wanted extra points elsewhere. Meltan is 1 point and counts as your mythical. Yeah, your mythical. So they basically said, I'll take it. Likely not going to bring this mythical, and just use those points elsewhere, which is really useful. This team is like really fast and has some big threats. Like Barraskewda, Dracovish, Calyrex Shadow, and Charizard Gmax can do a whole bunch forward. I think for me, this is a B rank team. Absol here without a beat up user is interesting to me because it gets justified. I know Umbreon's really good in singles. I don't know its place in VGC or what it can do. I think Corviknight's a cool defensive piece. It's Tailwind for this team, but it's slow Tailwind, like a base 67 speed. You might get hit hard before you get to set up that Tailwind. And just two other things I noticed is like Barraskewda wants to be in the rain, and Charizard Gmax often wants to be in the sun. And you don't necessarily have things to set those weathers for them. They can set them themselves. Charizard can't set it himself. Charizard can't set sun himself. But Barraskewda can set rain for itself. So I'm curious to see how that goes. I think Caroline Shadow is going to be real good, though. One of the things with the restricted and the mythicals is since they can't Gmax, they're really weak to fake outs. Like fake outs are gonna be all over this league because you can be certain it's not gonna Dynamax and have that fake out be wasted. I literally like picked 3 Pokemon with fake out because I felt like it was gonna be so good. But since it's a ghost type, you can't fake it out. And so I think that's going to be good. So for me, Greenland Tornadoes, you are a B team. Ba-ba-da-ba-dum. Greenville Good Boys. The Greenville Good Boys are broken. This is a broken team. This is S rank all day. Terrified. I don't want to face it. Why, you might ask. First off, and what most people are going to say is Xerneas. And I actually don't think Xerneas is that big of a threat in this league as people say it is. Since it can't Dynamax, like, you can fake it out or taunt it, stop it from setting up, or max steel spike right into it and do big damage. That said, you have to prep for that every week because if it comes and you don't prep for it, you're doomed. And it doesn't even have to come on this team. You have Pelipper, Kingdra, Zapdos, which is a crazy good rain team. You have Zapdos with those hurricanes and thunder in the rain. Are you kidding me? Bisharp sort of prevents you from bringing Intimidate. Dracloak can set screens super fast. Boom, Gmax is here. Mamoswine's here. Dubwool is like also broken. Its Cotton Guard ability. It can then Baton Pass its Cotton Guard. Fungus is like so cheap cost-wise for a great redirection, and it does Amoonguss for cheaper. There's just so much here. There's so much here that is truly terrifying to me. And it's again a team where every single week all 11 could come. And you have to prep for all 11. And that is like scary, right? Like, how do you prep for that? Because even like Dubwool, like if Dubwool gets a Cotton Guard up, its only weakness is fighting. And most of those moves are physical. What the hell are you going to do to that thing now? So yeah, Greenville Good Boys, S across the board, crushing it. Greenway Gardevoirs. Here's another truly incredible team. This team is incredible. I don't even really have notes. I have it in A rank. I was debating between S and A. I ended up going with A. It could easily be an S as well. But this team's so good, right? It's like its fantasy core is through the roof. You have Hatterene, Magearna, Eternatus. Like, your fantasy core is sick. Then your Firewater Grass core is Rillaboom, Cinderace, Gastrodon. Tangela is so great for redirect. You have that Hitmonchan that can come in. Gardevoir can imprison things, and it can hit hard. It can be support. Gastrodon is just such a great Pokemon. That Storm Drain ability is devastating. Crobat with a super fast Tailwind, like there's a lot here. And Magearna, like, I literally have to stop and sip water because I don't know how I'm gonna face this thing and what I'm gonna do. But this is an A rank team. It's got so much going on with it. It's super cool. We'll see how all the pieces interact with each other, but the threats they pose individually is just something that you're gonna have to plan for. And Hull City, the Arrow Raiders. First off, this is my favorite named team. There's something about like Hull City, the Arrow Raiders. That does say VGC, not VGO. There's like a little line there. I see VGO, but like I know it's VGC. I like zoomed in, which helped. This is a B rank team in my mind. This is a team that has a ton of really cool pieces. I'm curious to see how they work with each other. Lapras Gmax is a threat, right? It is a defensive threat. The thing about Lapras Gmax is like you have to then surround it by a bunch of threats that don't need the Gmax or the Dynamax to do work, because you're sort of burning your Dynamax on something defensively rather than offensively. You're basically doing it for Aurora Veil. You'll stick Light Clay on it and do some damage. That said, like, right, Raikou can do a lot of work. Tapu Fini can do a bunch of work. Hawlucha can do a bunch of work. You have Tapu Fini that can set up the terrain for Hawlucha, unburden, do damage. You have Escavalier, which prevents teams from wanting to put you in Trick Room because Escavalier just does damage. Beheeyem can do a bunch there. Comfy's an incredible support mon. It can heal things up, keep that Lapras alive for so long that you're just like doomed against it. Drapion can just like crit things for days, and especially if you get it going fast, like you're just not going to be able to handle what it's doing. Something I think is a little bit of a missed opportunity and why this is in B is like Victini is not the strongest, but its ability is so good and that it increases the accuracy of the Pokemon on your side. And so I'm surprised to not see like a Sleep Powder abuser. I suppose it can like make Raikou's Thunder be more accurate outside of rain. But I am surprised to not see like a Hypnosis or Sleep Powder abuser to be attached with that Victini. Because that could be terrifying. Like especially if it's fast, like it can just put you to sleep and ruin all of your strategies. But for me, this is a B rank team. I am curious just to see, Comfy has to do a lot of work as like the sole support mon on this team. Beheeyem and Tapu Fini can fill that role as well, but I think that's a lot for one Comfy to deal with. So I'm curious to see how it does. The Indeedies. Here's the thing. I'm going to start this right off the bat. I want this team to just be the Indeedies. INDYDEES. That's me. Not my job to rename you. I just love a pun, and that's where we're at. Honestly, the Indeedies for me are an A-rank team. This, and especially they did a last-minute trade as part of the grace period to get Moltres, Galar, and Frostlass on their team, which I think are brilliant additions to this team. This team is scary. Offensively, it's terrifying. You have Moltres, Galar, Porygon Z, and Crocodile, which just wreck through teams and have great, like Crocodile has great coverage. Then you have the Frostlass, which is an Ice Shard into the Moltres to pop a weakness policy. It can do that like critical hit thing into Crocodile, which anger points it up to like crazy attack. You have Grimmsnarl and Amoonguss, which are some of the best support mons in VGC right now. Pikachu for Fake Out and Nuzzle. Tornadus. I didn't even mention Tornadus yet, which is like, you have another prankster on. You have two prankster mons on this team. There's just so many threats. I honestly almost put this in S tier, but I kept it in A for now because I think there are ways to get around some of the things that are going on here. It's also not super great in Trick Room. Amoonguss can like put things to sleep there, but and this might just be a sleeping team in general, but I would suspect Lumberries are going to be on your opponents to wake some things up, or someone's going to set some electric terrain to fight you because no one wants to take that GMAX snooze. So I would expect to see some terrain stuff that would make it not work as well, and that means in Trick Room that Amoonguss would have even more problems and can't necessarily support the whole team. But for me, Indeedies. It's so late. What am I doing? You're an A-rank team. What's up? I can't wait. Great. Let's keep going before I disintegrate. And we're back with the Mareep farm. We like crashed a little bit. I was getting tired anyway, so the whole thing shut down and I was like, I'm going to take a break. And now I'm going to keep going back. So we're back with the Mareep farm. First off, I love this name and I love this logo. There's something about the like one in the front that's like, I'm going to do serious damage. And then there's like the little pink one in the corner that's just like, I'm dancing. And the one in the back that's just like, what's up, guys? There's something about these three Mareep that bring me serious joy. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about this team. Okay, let's talk about the Mareep farm. I think this team's real good. There's a lot going on here. I think this is a B rank team. You could convince me this is an A rank team. I would not fight you too hard, but I'm going to put it in B rank for now. I think there's some cool things going on here. We'll start with the things that are interesting choices. One, that Trapinch is like, it's there. I don't suspect to see it that often. It can arena trap you, but like, I'm not going to worry about it. So like Trapinch for me is not a super strong bet. I think Impidimp is a great pick. It is so cheap and set screens, and you can put your little focus sash on there, which is super great. Here's what we got going on. We have the Garchomp, Gengar, Incineroar, Cortana. I sound a little bit like a broken record here in a way, but I think when looking at this team, I definitely see a weakness to a Trick Room mode. For sure, these things are fast. They want to go fast, but you've got just such great support around it. Incineroar is like quintessential support Pokemon. Katana is going to do threats. Marshadow is super strong. Thundurus Incarnate, like that ability of, I mean, this is another team with 2 Prankstermons, right? You have Impidimp and you have Thundurus Incarnate, which is super great. Gengar is super cool. You can like Sucker Punch. Marshadow can Sucker Punch Gengar. Gengar can Sucker Punch Marshadow. You can pop your own weakness policies. Those are going to do some serious work. Yveltal's there. It can't Dynamax, so I don't think it's as useful as it typically is, as I've seen in like GS Cups and stuff, but I think it can still do a lot of work. I think there's some... The one thing I noticed is this team's a little frail. Like, Gengar is frail, Kartana's really frail, Marshadow can be a bit frail, Garchomp's really weak to ice. So there's a bit of a frailty thing going on. So I think I'm curious where the Focus Sash and where the Assault Vest will be each week, to sort of give these things a little bit more strength and sturdiness. But also, like, if you can't hit them in time, they're just going to bop you in the face and wreck you. So this is a B-rank team, Mareep Farm. You got a lot going on. I'm scared of it. I can't wait to see what you do with this team. Let's keep going down the line. Next up is... Oh, it's me! Somerville Scraggies! Hi! I'm biased. I'm totally biased. There's no way I'm not going to be biased about this team. I think this is an A-rank team. I don't think it's broken, but I think there's a lot of cool things. I'm going to do an in-depth like analysis of my team later, but why I like my team and why I think it's cool and an A-rank is... It's got a really great rain mode. It covers each other's weaknesses really, really well. There's some ground weakness here, but Butterfree and Celesteela cover that. This thing can fight in any speed. I've got a bunch of fast Pokemon. I've got a bunch of Slowmons. They support each other well. Bronzor plus Dragaggle is really hard to deal with. Raichu can speed swap anything and make it faster. Bronzor can speed swap anything and make it slower. Ludicolo can be physical or special. Like, there's just a lot of modes this thing can go for, and I'm excited to use it. I think it covers really well. It's got a lot going on it speed-wise, and it hits like a truck. So I'm going to put myself in the A rank, and if you don't agree with me, you're probably right, and that's okay. Sweet. Let's keep moving on. I think we only got 2 teams left. The Victoria Buzzwall. This is a team that, for me, I have moved it all over the place. Here's the thing. I have 2 contrasting thoughts about this team. One is this team hits like a truck, fast and slow. You have Arcanine and Virizion and that Diglett and that Sneasel who can beat up both of them, right? So you have beat up Justified Arcanine, beat up Justified Virizion. That's going to do damage. You have the premier Trick Room setter in Dusclops. You have Gigalith, which just does absolute work. And also it just survives a bunch of stuff, so it needs to be in Trick Room, but also doesn't need to be. You have Alchemy, which can decorate everything. Meltan, Reuniclus. You just have so much going on here. Here's what I perceive to be a weakness and why I've been struggling with it is like, this has a crazy Trick Room mode, but also nothing really to protect Dusclops. You don't have redirection. You have Fake Out with Sneasel, but a Dynamax can really abuse that. So like Dusclops really has to be able to take a lot of damage. What's cool is you can't Fake Out Dusclops, but it can be taunted. So it might be a guessing game of like, who do you Fake Out so that you don't get taunted? It could be tricky there, right? So like, that Trick Room mode doesn't have a lot to help it get set up. And a lot of this like Justified stuff, beat up stuff, decorate stuff is really susceptible to Follow Me and Rage Powder. You have to put goggles in the right place. You have to hope you don't face on with Follow Me. There's just ways to get around that. But it's also just really scary in a lot of ways. So I think I ended up with the Buzzwalls as a B rank team. I put them in B. I had them as A at one point, C at one point. I moved around, but I think this is a B rank team. I think this is a team to watch out for. And I think if they utilize these modes and these teams really well, they're going to run through a lot of opponents. And I think that's pretty scary. So great job, Victoria Buzzwall. And our final team is the Warren Central Zamazentas. The Warren Central Zamazentas are a team that I had to like wait for a little bit. I started like working on these, and this team changed like crazy. I think like only 3 of the Mons are the same that they drafted. I think Seismitoad, Zamazenta, and Zoroark were part of their original team, and the other 8 have been part of the freelance trade, which went through multiple rounds. But this is what we ended up with. Looking at this team, I think this goes under like, I just don't know what they have planned for this team. But for me, this is a D rank team. And why I say that is I think Zamazenta is incredible. I wanted it, and then I ended up switching for Kyogre. I knew the Warren Central Zamazentas really wanted it, and I think they're going to do great things with it. I think it wants to be a support mon. I think that's where it does its work best, which can be scary, right? Like if you do a coaching Zamazenta into Obstagoon, like that's just going to wreck through some teams. But that means Zamazenta is susceptible to fake out. It's susceptible to taunt. It can't hold an item, which is tricky. Items are really important, and I think that's a weakness of this team. And when I look at this team, I just see a bunch of things that I don't know how they work together. Like you have Seismitoad without rain. You have Araquanid that sort of wants to be in rain. You have Lilligant that wants to be in the sun. You have some serious fairy weakness with Obstagoon and Hydreigon. There's just some synergy stuff that I don't know. And EVG Max, I don't know what it does, honestly. It might be a points thing why they went with it. But I don't see it as a big offensive threat, which is not to say that this team won't be a big threat, but I think I'm curious as to what all the modes are. Because especially like when I see this, I see Obstagoon and Hydreigon as like big offensive threats, but are both weak to the same thing. So that's easier to plan against. But there's like an Articuno here. There's a Tapu Lele. There's a bunch here. So I think this team could absolutely wreck opponents. And honestly, might just be hard to prep for because I don't know what its modes are and what it's got going on. But for me, I'm going to have to put the Warren Central Zamazentas in the D rank. Sweet. So that's our teams. Let's go through our little category. So we have 16 teams in the S rank. We have and I need to like remember these names like from these logos. The Detroit Decky Deweys, the Greenville Good Boys. Those are S rank teams. Those are like, gonna do some work. The Greenway Gardevoirs, the Indees, and the Somerville Scroggy are the A rank teams in my mind. Austin Toros, the Sableyes, the Greenland Tornadoes, the Hull City Arrow Raiders, the Marite Farm, and the Victoria Buzzwall are my B-rank teams. The Blazikins, the Baratics, and the Colossals are C. And to round out our D-rank teams are the Zamazentas. And, oh my god, I can't even remember this team's name, but they're so good. They also have my favorite logo in the entire match. Oh my god. I'm just going to get nice and close. The Ravagers. That's any of them that aren't named after Pokemon. I have a hard time. I'm like, what are you? I can't. I'm like, you're the Rhyperiors, right? You're not. So this was super fun for me, friends. I sort of like the biggest things, like these are my opinions. They could be so wrong. And also like these coaches clearly all have specific strategies about their Pokemon that I don't know a single thing about. So I can't wait to see how these teams go. This is not for me to say that I believe the SA and like B ranks are going to beat the C and D ranks. Like, I don't think that's at all what's going to happen. I think every team has a great chance to beat another team with great prep. This draft league is won and lost by prep and what you bring and what you predict and how you play. And so this could be all turned on its head on week 1. But this was fun for me. I hope you had a good time. This is Tyler Michael. This was so long. If you survived the whole time, you're so great. Okay, thank you. And we're actually get started this week. We are starting like right away. So we'll have more content. I'll talk about my team soon. And I hope you all have a great day. Stay healthy, stay safe, and have some snacks. Okay, snacks. To be clear, I said snacks. Have a great day. Okay, bye.